Eurovision broadcaster Lisa Jane Lewis. All Out Eurovision.
Hi everybody, it's Lisa Jane Lewis here with today's rehearsal rundown. Today we've had another mammoth day on stage, and joining me to chew the fat, to talk it over and to give us his opinion from Eurovision Ireland, it's James Scanlon. Hi James.
Hey Lisa Jane, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, how are you?
Oh, exhausted. It's been a very long day watching the rehearsals from Rotterdam, but good. This is why we do it. We enjoy it. It's a long day, but we still love it.
Absolutely is, but we would just saying, between all of us, none of us remember what day it is, what time it is, whether we've eaten breakfast or lunch. None of us have any idea what we're doing anymore.
We've lived in Rotterdam for about 4 years now, haven't we?
Yeah, it feels like it really does. When did we start? Saturday, and it's now the day we're recording this is what day? I still can't remember what day it is. Thursday evening, isn't it?
I think we agreed it was Thursday, yeah.
Yes.
Which Thursday is anyone's guess?
That's very true. It could be July by now. I've got absolutely no idea. Right, shall we crack on? We've got a lot of rehearsals on the stage today, as always when we get into second rehearsal. And then also the Big Five have shown up, and the Netherlands have walked down the road to the venue as well. So we ought to talk about them too, because they've had their first rehearsals. But let's start with the first batch of second rehearsals that we saw, and we kicked off this morning with Malta, who is closing out the first semi-final, but had their second rehearsal at the beginning of second semi-final day. I don't know what's going on.
It confused us as well, admittedly.
I know. So, what did you make of Malta, James?
Destiny is a consummate professional. She's got the voice, she's got the talent, and every time she gets up on that stage, she just belts it out, no problem. Vocally, she's practically perfect. The stage show, I feel like it was an improvement on what we saw during the last set of rehearsals. It's sort of been tightened up here and there. I know a lot of people were interested in the fact that her costumes changed because there was a bit of backlash on social media. Personally, I didn't see any problem at all with the first costume, and I think moving into silver, it sort of feels like what everyone else is doing. Silver seems to be very in this year, especially in the first semi-final. The one critique that I do have of Destiny is, I said, vocals are fine, but occasionally where she's sort of holding those notes and sort of showing off her voice, she has a habit of closing her eyes while she's doing that. And I think emoting on a few notes is fine, you know, that's good. But when it sort of becomes near constant, the audience aren't seeing your eyes, and I think that can be a problem for the televoting audience.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair comment. I wish that costume change had been to gold, because we don't have any gold this year. Or at least, do we have any? I can't think.
Yeah, that would have worked. That would have worked, actually. Silver feels like it's one of many silver dresses this year.
Yeah, it is. And gold and pink is a really, really nice colour combination. It works really well on TV. We see it in its more kind of base form when we see yellow with pink. So when you make that gold, it really stands out. So yeah, I do wish that was gold. They had brought two costumes with them. So all that backlash and rubbish that was going on with the press with her first costume, they had always planned to have a second costume because they wanted to see their options, which is really smart. And they're not the first delegation to do that. Do you remember the UK back in 2017 had 3 dresses, I think, and they were just trying them out during the different rehearsals to figure out which one they were going to use. So it's really not unusual for delegations to do that, to either tweak their costumes or have a couple of options. They want to look at it, go into the viewing room, see what they think and see what works best. So
exactly that. And I remember Mahmoud did the same in Tel Aviv. He had several costumes, and I think sometimes the fan press in particular forget this is what rehearsals are for. They're for the delegation to watch and say, okay, we like that works, we need to change that, everything. So when people react on the first run through and say, oh my god, this is terrible, like, no, we don't know that. We need to sort of watch it, and it's still a work in progress at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very much that Malta are still very much in the game for this. They could win. They could come second or third or fourth. It's such an open field this year. It's anybody's game, really. But I still think this is great. It's still up in my kind of, tops. Yeah, I mean, you know me. I've always got about 15 songs in my top 3, but this is one of them.
I'm the exact same, don't worry.
Yeah, I know. So my question, of course, is Malta, are they qualifying or are they not qualifying?
The majority of my heart and brain say yes, she will qualify. There's that tiny little nagging doubt saying, shock non-qualifier, but I think that's just sort of pre-contest nerves. I think Destiny is going to walk into the final and she'll probably be worrying the top of the scoreboard easily.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think there definitely are some shock non-qualifiers in this semi-final, but I don't think Destiny is one of them, which is great.
Great news for Malta.
So we moved on to Zenit from San Marino, giving us that San Marinese trolling and playing along and running their own joke, which is, of course, is Flo Rida going to be there or not? What did you make of the rehearsal?
Oh, I absolutely love this. I think this is a fantastic opening for the second semi-final. It's all kinds of Eurovision crazy and then some. When I sort of think back to the first time we saw Zenit at Eurovision, she was sort of so quiet and shy, and I think watching her bound around the stage now, sort of, whipping the audience into frenzy, really sort of having the time of her life on that stage. I think that's what's so wonderful about this performance. You can tell that she's having fun. It's not an act. And yeah, I look at the two songs that she sent to Eurovision, I think this can't be the same woman. It's just amazing how much she's come out of her shell and eeten it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She has. This might as well be two separate artists, really. I think she's like a fine wine. She's aged well, and I say that as a woman in my 40s as well, as is she. And there's something about when you get to a certain age, you sort of just go, actually, I'm done with playing everybody else's game. It's time for me to invent the rules and play my own game. And I really feel like she's done that. I don't know when that happened, whether it was at 40 or whether it was before, but she's cracking. She's a great little performer. I love her. I love this. I think it's brilliant. It's
a real thing of beauty to see her that confident and bouncing around. And the moment the sort of lights come up and she's standing there wearing what I can only describe as like an iconostasis, you just want, this is what Eurovision TV Gold is about. That's going to appear on show reels for the next 4 decades easily.
That's exactly what I said. I said she's wearing a Russian church wall is what she's wearing. And it's fabulous. And I love every part of it.
And then today they cover it with images of Flo Rida and question marks. So it just, every time you watch it, you spot another little detail because there is so much in there, and it's hilarious, but it's brilliant.
It's not the first time the San Marinese have had fun in their rehearsals and trolled us with little notes and things. Do you remember the robots that they were putting up different notices on the robots in Lisbon?
I was just thinking rehearsals. Justice for Valentina, wasn't it?
Yeah, Justice for Valentina. There are all sorts of little funny things they were putting up. The San Marinese are confident and chilled, and I'd really like them to win. I know they've got nowhere to host it in San Marino, which is a bit of a shame, but I feel like even if they were to host it, which they would in Italy, I would hope it would still have very much a San Marinese kind of slightly tongue-in-cheek vibe to it.
Definitely, and I'd love to see them do the opening events like the red carpet event in San Marino. Città di San Marino is a beautiful city, and
I know you've been there.
It's a really fantastic city. I wrote about it for my book Europe in a Day, and I'd love it. I'd love for San Marino to win Eurovision. They get to host it, because I think it would just show that any country is capable of winning Eurovision with the right song.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Right, San Marino, are they qualifying or not?
Oh, I think so. I think there's just too much there that can't be ignored. I think the jury will go for it for various reasons. The televoting public will be completely blown away. If it doesn't qualify, I'd be incredibly surprised.
Me too. Oh, and the addendum question for this, is Flo Rida coming or not?
They're making such a big song and dance of this. I think he's going to turn up at the very last moment, possibly sort of, running into the stage from the airport, but we'll see. I think he's going to be there. Yeah, I think they can't come this far and not have him there.
No, because they'll be hated forever.
No one could hate San Marino, that one.
No, that's true. You can't hate San Marino. Okay, let's move on then to Estonia, to Uku and his song The Lucky One. Not a huge amount of change from this, I don't think, since our first rehearsal, but then there wasn't a huge amount that needed to change.
No, exactly. I know this one hasn't sort of sprung up in many people's top 10s or in the betting odds, but I don't think Estonia have done anything wrong. I think it's a very solid performance. Uku sells the whole feeling of the song, that, sort of jaded, falling out of love style. There are some beautiful moments with like the full moon behind him. I like the moment where he touches the floor and it like turns to red. These are all very strong staging ideas. I think the only reason I fear for Estonia is because of where they are in the running order.
Yeah, and I think I fear for Estonia because Austria are in the same semi-final and they have quite a similar... it's not similar, it's not the same, but it is the solo male singer on stage. And I just feel like Austria might have just nudged Estonia down.
They are both chasing the same set of votes and the same sort of demographics. Yeah, I agree.
They are. As is Switzerland. Switzerland is in that same demographic. And Georgia, we haven't seen Georgia today. We'll talk about them tomorrow. But, I can't think that Georgia are going to be troubling the voters of Europe much. So I think in this semi-final, really the ones chasing that card are Switzerland, Estonia and Austria, and I can only see 2 places for that card, the qualifiers.
No, I'd agree with that. And as much, I'd say Estonia is probably one of my favourite songs this year. I think Cuckoo's a great performer. I think Estonia have staged it perfectly, but yeah, sadly I'm not optimistic for its chances, which is a real shame because I think it deserves to get to the final.
Yeah, I agree. I'm worried for Estonia, and we've both got friends in the Estonian delegation, so I'm worried for them that they're going to be really, really upset, but I don't think there's much we can do to stop that now.
Well, there's always next year. That's what I always say with Eurovision. Okay, if this year doesn't work out, there's always next time.
Absolutely. So Estonia, what are you saying? Yes or no?
Heart desperately says yes. Head says probably not.
Yeah. I feel like, I've said this about other songs, but I feel like if this doesn't qualify, it's going to not qualify in 11th or 12th with less than 10 points in it, or it's going to qualify in 10th with less than 10 points in it. Do you know what I mean? It's right on the border, depending on just how it goes on the night.
I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. I think we'll definitely be seeing that on Wikipedia in future when we're scrolling through looking at how close it was.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the ones that we go back and look at and we go, that was so annoying that didn't make it. We'll be saying that for years to come. Well, at least you and I will, and about the rest of them. Let's move on then. Czech Republic. Benny Christo was back with his rather unique chilled style that this man has. What did you make of Benny's second rehearsal, this time with glasses, I noted?
This time with glasses, and also this time with a bit more bounce, which I was really happy to see. The first run through that he did a couple of days ago, I was sort of almost blown away by how much he wasn't really there. It's like he was there but not there at the same time. So it was nice to see today that he had a lot more bounce, and I think every time I see him rehearse, he comes out of his shell a bit more. I suspect that people are going to sort of have this, it's going to go under the radar, but once there's a live audience in there for him to sort of feed off that energy, I think he's going to burst into life and surprise everyone. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, I think you could be right there. And I've been thinking about the Czech Republic over the last few years at Eurovision. And you think, Mikolas Josef, who was there, he wasn't the most kind of dynamic in terms of like off stage and bouncing around and stuff. But on stage, when he had that audience, it completely lifted that performance. It was always a good performance, but it really needed the audience there. And I feel like Benny might be the same.
Yeah, I agree. I think we always get a few artists at Eurovision who sort of feed off that audience energy, and while I think like Zenit is another one, I think she'll really feed off the energy, but she can sort of replicate it by herself. Benny, I think, needs it there to sort of feed off it. When he's got that interaction between him and the audience, I think it's just going to elevate the numbers so much.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I had a lovely chat with him, great interview with him. Such a lovely, down to earth kind of chilled guy. And I want to not see that lovely, down to earth chilled guy on stage, because this song doesn't need a lovely, down to earth chilled bloke. It needs a performer. But that said, I feel like their first rehearsal was just a pace and place rehearsal. It really was just going through the steps, going through the mark. And I felt like there was a bit more performance today. And, Benny was trying to find that performance element to it.
Yeah, definitely. Looking back on that first one, I think it was just, right, okay, I need to be here. I need to be there, look over there, do this thing, and everyone's a bit like, we weren't expecting it to be this calm. But yeah, I think once there's an audience there, I think he'll spring to life and could surprise everyone.
Great. So the question is, are the Czech Republic qualifying or not?
This is a really difficult one because I think it is very borderline at the moment. I think it could go either way, a bit like we said with Estonia. I think it's a song that's aimed very much at a younger demographic. If they're watching on Thursday night for a semi-final, then the televote might push it through. If not, then I think it's going to be in that sort of 9 to 13 category.
I don't think this is going to qualify. A bit like you, I don't think the audience is going to be there for it, and I just don't think it's quite enough. When you see what else is in this semi-final in that more sort of up-tempo side of things, I don't think it stands out enough to get through, and that's a shame because Benny's wonderful, such a lovely chap, but I just can't see him doing it much as I would like him to. So let's move on to Greece, who were our last rehearsal before lunch, because we have lunch at 11 o'clock or something ridiculous. How is your pasta at 11 o'clock in the morning? It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It does
So-
feel really weird. You think, I'm sure I only had breakfast 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely that. So Greece with their green screen and their video imagery and Stefania. What do you make of this, James?
I was really, really impressed. Stefania seemed a lot more confident today, and I think that's why it's nice to see these second rehearsals, because you see the artists sort of get over their first time jitters. She was, vocally she was very good. In terms of her movement, she was a lot more confident. It's some quite elaborate staging. I mean, watching that scene where she sort of leans backwards down the flight of stairs as someone that we can't see sort of props her up. That's brave. I don't think I'd want to do that, quite frankly, while singing, while in front of an audience of several million people. There's a lot of stuff to think about there. I think Greece have done a fantastic job. We heard throughout the national selection season, people kept saying, oh, Greece are going to give us something special. And you're always tempted to think, is that the fans, getting ahead of themselves? But no, I think it's really memorable. I think Stefania's got the voice for a jury vote, and I think they've got a show for a televote. So I think it's sort of an all-round threat.
I would agree with all of that. There is only one thing that is wrong with this staging.
Oh, go on.
And it's quite a big thing. It is the video content, because she doesn't climb up anything. I want her to climb up something fantasy. I want them to be, when they're standing, they're sort of just standing on nothing with the video content going underneath them, but it doesn't fit. I'd like her to be standing on top of the Eye of Sauron or something, so that I just want her to have something that she's standing on that is quite clearly fantasy world, but that rushing cityscape just doesn't work on the video. But it works really well when we're on the real bit of the staging, but when we're on the green screen, I just think it doesn't make sense. That was the
moment we needed the flying horse, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Put the girl on put her on a unicorn. That would be wonderful. But it doesn't work with her just standing on nothing and having moving imagery underneath her. Like, I wanted to lean back onto Zeus or something. This is Greece. Where is the Greek? That's probably my question. Where is the Greek? Why are they using that video content? But that is nothing to do with Stefania. She is a brilliant artist. She's a great singer. The dancing is great. She looks amazing. That costume is one of my favorites for this year. Her boots are to die for. But I just want to change the video and give her a unicorn and a statue of Zeus. That's all.
Not much to change there.
No, not at all. Greece, if you're listening, if you could just sort that out for me, we'll be fine. So what do you think, Greece? Are they qualifying or not?
Oh, definitely. As I said, Stefania's voice is there for the jury. There's such a show for the televote. I can't imagine any scenario in which that's not getting through.
No, absolutely. I think Greece is a strong frontrunner, despite my concerns about the video and the lack of Greek gods. So we had lunch and we moved on to Austria. Vincent Bueno with the song Amen, our second song called Amen. Thankfully, they're not in the same semi-final. I'm kind of pleased about that. This song is just going from strength to strength to strength. What do you make of it? Do you agree?
I completely agree. I remember on the first listen, I wasn't blown away, but then actually sitting down, listening to the lyrics and the emotion behind it, I thought, okay, there's something special going on here. And seeing what Austria have done on stage, it's nothing short of sublime. Vincent is such an emotive performer. He sings with such conviction. You believe every word that he's singing. And I think it also goes to prove that less is more sometimes on the Eurovision stage. Just having him sort of on that catwalk in more or less darkness, those beams of light piercing into the roof of the arena, it looks magnificent, and it lets his voice take center stage. And that's been always one of my things at Eurovision, is that the song and the vocalists need to take center stage. It can't be all gimmicks, and I think Austria have done this beautifully. I wouldn't be surprised if it won the jury vote for semi-final 2.
I agree, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does very well on the Saturday night as well. Will it go as far as Cesar Sampson did? Potentially it could. I would not rule that out, which made all my friends at ORF have a heart attack that they might actually win it and have to host it again. I love that footage in Lisbon. Every time they cut to the Austrian green room, like, all my friends at ORF are just like getting whiter and whiter and whiter. Like, oh no, we only just hosted it, we can't do it again. But fortunately the televote came in, and we didn't end up going to Vienna, which is a shame for Vienna and us, because Vienna's amazing. But probably ORF were quite thankful at that point that they didn't win the televote as well. I feel like with the staging, Austria have sort of found their groove at the moment and what works for them, because this staging is not dissimilar to Cesar Samson. It's the staging is not dissimilar to Panda. Austria have really found their groove is with lighting and lighting things really well, and long may that continue, really, because I think it works really well for them. They clearly know what they're doing when it comes to lighting a live show.
Definitely, and I think, as you said, they have found their groove. For a while they were sort of wandering around in obscurity, and then I think when they sort of had that break and came back to the contest, they sort of stumbled around for a bit, but I think winning really lit a fire under them, and now they understand how the game is played. And they don't fall into the trap that other countries do of sending very similar sounding songs. Okay, the staging might sort of be based around the same concept, but it works. But musically, we're getting lots of different styles, and I really appreciate that.
No, absolutely. I'm very, I'm part Austrian, everyone knows that. And, I have worked with the Austrian delegation, so I do always have a keen eye on what Austria are doing. And I'm just utterly, utterly delighted with everything they've done this year. It just makes my heart sing. It's wonderful. James, are Austria qualifying?
Oh, yes, I think they're possibly winning this semi-final.
Do you?
Yeah, I think they're possibly winning this semi-final.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
I said possibly.
Yeah, true. Well, great. I mean, yes, I definitely think they're qualifying, and I think they're going to qualify easily. But there's other things in this semi-final that might beat them. We'll see. What is not going to beat them is what came next, which is Poland.
Oh, Poland. I really want to like it. I like the song as a CD track. It's entertaining. It's got that sort of 80s nostalgia to it. I said before in another video that it reminds me very much of, that sort of music they put over the film credits in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's sort of got that vibe to it. Every 90s film ever sort of ended with a track like this. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That sort of, again, taps into nostalgia. But yeah, I think that it's just so much going on stage, and it's not quite cohesive enough for me. There are some nice ideas, but sort of a bit like accessorizing, take off the last thing that you put on. I think that's maybe what someone should have done when they were looking at this. Said, okay, we've got lots of ideas here. Let's take this one out.
Oh, goodness. Well, we'll come on to that sentiment a little bit later. Believe me. But let's stick with Poland just for now, Lisa. Don't go off on a tangent. See, everyone is saying that this is like 1980s throwback. I'm like, it's not. It's 1990s. It's Pet Shop Boys in 1991 is what this is. It's not 80s. That's Denmark has got that corner of the world covered.
More than covered.
Yeah, more than covered. Nobody else needs to go there because Denmark have done all of the 80s. But this is early 90s Pet Shop Boy kind of vibe, and I really like that because that is my sort of early teenage years of listening to music and enjoying stuff. So like you, as a track, as a CD, as a studio version, I like it enough that I actually bought it off of iTunes because I really do enjoy listening to it. And then it arrived on stage and was absolutely terrible. And today it was slightly less terrible, but still in the terrible category, which is a real shame. I like the light balls. I do think they're quite kind of fun. And I feel like they could have played a bit more with light balls. That would have been kind of a fun staging concept, but they haven't really gone far enough with it.
No, I agree. I think that was the saving grace for me, was the light balls and the dancers. I feel like they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this song. And a couple of people I've spoken to have sort of commented and said that maybe, Raphael, bless him, is maybe a bit too mature to be singing a song of this, I don't know if ilk is the right word or...
It's funny, isn't it? Because I can see why people are saying that, but I think he's younger than Senit, and Senit's song is not a song for a 40-plus-year-old woman. So I think it's not necessarily about the age, but about the persona.
Perhaps it's how it's being sold then, because I think he's trying to sort of hit this, hey, look, I'm cool and down with the kids, but it doesn't come naturally. And with Senit, it does come naturally.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll never know, and I'm pretty sure we're not even really that bothered. Is Poland qualifying?
Short of something shocking happening with the Televo, I doubt it, which is a shame because, as I said, I do like the song, but yeah, I think there's still a bit too much work that needs to be done before next Wednesday and Thursday.
Absolutely. Poland don't have their friends voting for them in this semi-final. They haven't got Lithuania. They haven't got... Have they got Germany? No, Germany are voting in the first semi-final, aren't they?
Yes, I believe so.
And those are their two biggest voting friends, and they don't have them. So I'm not entirely convinced that Poland's going to get any points, to be honest, because who else is going to vote for it? Why would they? I think Poland might come last in this semi-final. We move on. Let's talk about Moldova and Natalia Gordienko. What do you make of this? James, what's happening? What happened in Moldova? What's going on?
I absolutely love this. It's just such a bop and so much fun. And the one sort of critique that I have of it is I really enjoy it, I really love it. But in a year that's been really difficult, we needed that really zany Moldovan staging that we're used to. You know, this was a song that was crying out for dancing ice cream cones, rotating pieces of cake, you know, confetti, candy pouring everywhere. You know, we wanted Candyland gone crazy.
Yeah.
And Moldova have chosen now to be very sophisticated, very contemporary. And on the one hand, I'm like, you know, this is the most contemporary staging we've seen from Moldova, and we need to applaud them for that. And then there's that little petulant part of me that's thinking, you know, but we wanted to see dancing ice cream and cake, and you know, you picked a fine time to make this transition.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like next year, Moldova, you can bring all the sophisticated frocks and video content and whatever you want, but we were waiting for dancing sugar cubes. And we didn't get them, especially as the video kind of suggested that was what we were getting as well. I don't really know what's gone on with Moldova.
That video's got a lot to answer for. We were expecting so much.
Really has. Oh.
At least she's not eating anyone's face on stage, because that was one thing I was concerned about. You know, I showed that to my nephew and he screamed. So I thought, maybe not a great one for the kids watching out there.
Yeah, I'm beyond really with Moldova. I'm like, they've basically staged a ballad and brought a banger is what they've done. You're like, what? How have you even thought that was a thing? I don't know. Don't understand. Anyway, Moldova, are they qualifying or are they not qualifying?
Pre-rehearsal, I had them very much qualifying. Now I'm not so sure. I sort of think, again, they're in that sort of borderline category. I think there's a bit there for a jury, but if it's going to stand out with everything around it. So yeah, I'm undecided.
I think you can't be undecided on this show, mate. You've got to nail your colours to a mast. You've got to give me a yes or a no.
Oh, in that case, I'm going to aim more towards no at the moment, which is a real shame because, as I say, it's one of my favourites this year, and I was looking forward to dancing most vigorously to Sugar on the night of the final. Yes,
well, you can still do that. You just might have to put your earplugs in and do it in a corner somewhere. Or I should be with you on the night of the final. We'll play it for you after everything's happened, but then you can have a little bop.
You heard it here first. We're going to be dancing together to Sugar.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I'm going to make it happen. I do not have Moldova on my qualifying list. I am fairly confident, actually. I don't even think it's borderline. I just think it's not qualifying. I don't think there's enough there. There's too much else in this semi-final that's just of a better quality, really, despite it being a great box. So next up is one of this year's favourites, and they sort of go up and down in the betting, but they've not been out of the top 10, I don't think, since the betting opened. And it is our friend, Daði Freyr and Gagna Magnith. I've learned how to say it. For Iceland, with 10 years. Again, not much different from what we saw at the first rehearsal, but there's a reason it wasn't much different, because it didn't need to be. What did you make of it?
That's it. You know, we said earlier that staging at Eurovision, you know, things don't always come fully formed, but every so often something does come along that is sort of just there. And I think that was Iceland this year. You know, the band, they're so quirky and lovable, and even though I'm not a huge fan of the song, I can't help but tap my foot along to it and hum it, because they just sell it so well and you become invested in, you know, how quirky and fun they are. And I love that moment at the end where they sort of stop, they hold the pose for a few seconds, and then the pyro goes off and they sort of jump with it. I think that's genius.
No, you've just ruined it for everyone, James. I think most people that have listened to this probably know that that's coming anyway. I sort of agree with you, but in a slightly different way, in that I quite like the song, but I'm not so keen on them. I mean, not that I think they're lovely, but for me, just the whole visuals, nerdy, geek, chic stuff just doesn't really tick my box at all. But I do think the song's quite fun. I mean, I know we're not comparing this year to last year, but I very much prefer it to Think About Things. That song just really got on my wick. But this one I find quite entertaining.
Again, I'm the other way around. I think About Things I sort of didn't get for the longest time, and I think in the end I was just brainwashed because I was hearing it everywhere, and you know, when it was on Strictly and everything, it just got to me. And this song, I was like, you know, it sounds so much like, you know, the previous one. I think I enjoy this a bit more though, and I don't know if that's because I've sort of seen the staging and, you know, sort of they've sold it to me. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
So are Iceland qualifying or not?
I think they're in that same category as Greece. So, you know, short of something apocalyptic happening, Iceland will be in the final on Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see any reason not to include Iceland in the most definitely yes category. Serbia were next, the last of our second rehearsals today, and then we'll just have a little breeze through the Big Five and the Netherlands. Serbia. What do you make of Serbia, James? I can't work out what you know how sometimes songs come along and you're like, oh, I know what my friends will think of that, or I know which of my friends will like that and which won't. I haven't really been able to work out who likes Serbia and who doesn't.
I know exactly what you mean. Something comes along and you think, yeah, oh, I'm not a big fan of this, but I know so-and-so will love it. Yeah, that's right up so-and-so street. Hurricane, I love their energy. I love their sass. You know, when they're on stage, they command. You know, you're just compelled to watch them. Last year, Hasta La Vista was probably the biggest grower of 2020 for me. Didn't rate it that much at the beginning, but then I found that over the summer I was listening to it almost every day. So, you know, I think their style of music did get into my head. Loco Loco was another one. It took some time to grow on me, but I think it's just such a bop. It's got such energy and the girls sell it really well. Staging wise, I've sort of looked at it a few times and gone, I'm not sure this is terribly cohesive. I think it needs a bit of work. But the thing is, even when there are details like that need ironing out, if the performers can sell it and sort of give you that attack, that aggression, that energy, you're sort of almost willing to overlook that. So I do actually really enjoy it, and I think it's it's in a sweet spot. It's sort of different to everything around it.
Yeah, I agree. Serbia could go either way for me in terms of whether it qualifies or not, and I've got quite a few big concerns about it, and they're not really based on Hurricane and what they're doing, but they're based on the fact that Serbia are in semi-final 2, and Slovenia, Croatia, North Macedonia, Russia, who are sort of Serbia's best friends in point, are all in semi-final 1. So Serbia need to get points from somewhere else. They've really only got Bulgaria as their friends.
Well, traditionally Greece and Serbia have a very strong relationship outside of Eurovision, so they might be able to pick up something there, but I agree, they are sort of isolated from their usual.
They are, very much so.
Associates.
We need Bosnia and Herzegovina to come back, and we need Montenegro to come back, because the Balkans are a little bit thin at the moment.
That they are. When are they bringing in mandatory Eurovision participation?
You know, I think they're working on it. It should be like, you know, you have no choice. You have to come. Could you imagine what some people would send if that was the rule? They'd just send like some busker off the street, like go sing, do whatever. You don't care.
That turns from national selections into more of like a reaping from the Hunger Games, isn't it? You know, we'll put your names in the pot.
Yes, exactly. But national selection takes on a whole. It becomes like national service. So yeah, that's my concern about Serbia, is that they don't have their friends, and this is this is going to sound weird, it's quite a challenging performance for televoters to pick up the phone for when there's other things like exactly what has gone before it.
I do agree with you there. I think maybe the dads watching around Europe might react to it. We might get sort of effect of, you know, Poland 2014.
Yes, well now this is one for the dads, that's true. I'm really not sure about it. I love it as a song, I really love it, and I think the girls are wonderful together. I think they are, I mean, they're all three talented in their own way, but they equal more than the sum of their parts when you put them together. And I think as a group, I think Hurricane could be one of the strongest Balkan groups that we've seen in forever. But let's not go off on a Balkan nerdery, because we'll alienate everybody. So let's just do the are they qualifying or not? Are Serbia qualifying, James Cameron?
I'd like to say yes. I think they've got enough there that they could pull it off.
Yeah. I have got them on my list, and I think they will scrape through in, you know, 8th to 10th position. I don't think it's going to be a trouncing, but I could see them scraping through. I've found a place on my list for them. So we went from the second rehearsals of the second semi-final to the first rehearsals of the Big Five in the Netherlands. We kicked off with Italy, who, when asked what pyro would you like, said, yes, please. What do you make of Italy, James? This is not your kind of music traditionally, is it? I don't think.
I do like rock music, I must say. This feels a bit more punk to me, and parts of it I really like. I will sort of listen to it on occasion. It's not one of the kinds of tracks that I'll have on repeat, but I think the band sell it exceptionally well. I think it's staged, you know, simply as a rock performance. You know, you can imagine that any rock show across the continent. And yeah, the lead singer, he just has charisma by the bucketful, and, you know, stripped off to the waist, tattoos, you know, looking down the camera. This is going to do well for Italy. I know rock is usually not as welcome at Eurovision by a lot of the fans, but they forget that rockers make up such a big percentage of any, you know, music fandom, that I can see this picking up votes all across the continent, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Italy in the top 10 again.
I think that's without a doubt that Italy will be in the top 10. I think there could be a chance of an accidental. Well, I think we're going to get an accidental winner anyway. And I can think of any one of 6 countries that might be that accidental winner. And I think Italy is one of them.
I'd agree with you there.
And I would be over the moon if Italy were to win with this, because I've not been the hugest fan of Italy song. I know they've been riding high at Eurovision. I've not really been a fan of any of their songs since 2017, Francesco Gabbani, but then I sort of went a bit out of them for a few years, and then they've come back with this, and I think this is spectacular. This has catapulted up into my top 10 today. I think the way, as you say, the way the band sell it, the lead singer, whose name completely escapes me at the moment, but my goodness, I'm like, I could go straight to him. My goodness, he's adorable, utterly gorgeous. But I did
see a blog somewhere that said that a lot of people are going to have their first bisexually curious moments watching Eurovision this year because of Italy.
Well, I mean, he's done it for me. Goodness.
One down, 180 million to go?
Well, I'm a very out there and proud queer girl, so, but anyway. Italy. Goodness, get out of my mind. What's going on? No, we'd have to ask Italy qualifying. Italy are in the grand final already. So where do you think Italy are going to end up? Up there in the top?
Top 10 very easily. I think that's Italy's spot. We're willing them to have a second win. I could see this being, as you said, an accidental win. I don't think it's going to storm both votes in the sense that I don't think it will come first in either.
No.
But if it comes third or fourth in both, then it could be Turin 2022.
Yep, absolutely. And it'll be Milan, won't it? That's what they've got, that new stadium and that new arena that they're willing to show off.
Possibly. Last I heard it was Turin, but that was a couple of years ago. But
you know what? I'll go anywhere in Italy. I'll go anywhere in the world right now.
Host it.
We haven't travelled for, getting on for a year and a half. I would go anywhere right now.
Same. I've been tempted to go to Dartford.
Well, that would be a day out, that would. Germany. I mean,
Gott in Himmel.
I mean, I got nothing. Take over with Germany.
This song, for a song called I Don't Feel Hate, it's received nothing but hate because people go, oh, we don't like that. It's, this, that and the other. But you can't help but like Jendrik. There's something about him that just lights up when he performs. And watching this rehearsal, me and my colleagues, we were laughing for a good 40 seconds because we were sort of catatonic with tiredness at that point. But also it's just so hilarious. And the concept of it, if you have to sit down and explain to someone, right, so there's this guy singing for Germany, he's playing a ukulele, he's got a couple of backing dancers, and there's someone running around dressed up as a giant hand with, the giant middle finger. People say, when was the last time you slept? That doesn't sound healthy to be thinking of that.
Yeah.
But this, depending when this goes on in the running order, if it goes on towards the end of the show, when a televote audience is quite drunk at that point, 2019, I'm sorry, Germany, no points. I could see this doing the exact opposite. If it goes on late enough in the evening where everyone's drunk, I could see Germany sweeping the televote, which is a terrifying thought.
That is an absolutely terrifying thought, and would be enough for me to start campaigning to get rid of the televote altogether and go back to 1993, which was an excellent contest, by the way, for anyone listening. I got no words. The song is called I Don't Feel Hate. Pretty much the only thing I feel about this is hate. I think it's awful. I think it's BBC, RTE, laugh at the funny foreigners fodder, and I think it's dreadful. I get what you're saying about him. He's a very compelling performer, and he's clearly enjoying it. The whole middle finger thing has been completely missed. That's not a middle finger. That's Finland that have done that. It's a peace sign. It's 2 fingers, but because the person wearing it is standing with their face in the middle finger, the forefinger is just sort of flopping around and it's not standing up as proud. So it doesn't look like a peace sign. It looks like a other sign. There you go.
I was wondering if that was her arm in there, and I thought, my goodness, that must get tiring running around for 3 minutes with your arm, sort of keeping your arm level with your head. That must be.
I think they're high on something. I wouldn't like to say what. They're in the Netherlands after all. Goodness. Where do you think Germany's going to finish, James?
I could see Germany doing lower top 10. I think the televote is going to be its biggest source of votes. I suspect the juries will kill this with fire, but depending how high it comes up in the televote, I think we could see it, do 7, 8, 9, which is, for a song that everyone's been reacting to so dramatically. Yeah, I could see this being a lot better than the fans maybe want it to.
I think you're right. I can't see it ending up in the top 10 because it's not going to get any points from the jury whatsoever. I'm reluctant to compare it to Kano, but that's what we saw with Kano. They didn't get many points in the jury, but they did get a lot in the televote. But then there wasn't, I don't want to say there wasn't anything else for people to vote for in the televote. Of course there was, but I feel like there's a lot more televote options in this year. So I don't think they would do quite the kind of split that Kano did. I think they would have less in the jury and maybe a bit less in the televote. So I could see this finishing maybe in that, the sort of third quarter bracket, if you like, sort of 11 to 15, 11 to 14, 15, something like that. It's got enough in it that people are going to enjoy it, especially if you've had a drink. But I just can't quite see it making the top 10.
Oh, that sounds reasonable, I think.
So let's talk about the Netherlands and the lovely hometown hero, Django. This song for me, I did not get this when it first came out. I wasn't that interested in it when it first came out, but it is one of the songs that has grown and grown and grown on me over the past few weeks. And then when I saw it today, I was like, oh, this is just gorgeous. Utterly fantastic. What do you think?
I have to agree with absolutely everything you've said. First listen, I was like, okay, this is nice. And again, it's one of those songs you just sort of listen to the poetry of it, the sort of, what it's actually singing about, the message of the song. And, it's dealing with some quite dark subject matter, but it's just done in such a soulful, such a celebratory way. And I think the staging has just done it perfectly. I was glued from the moment he started singing, when the backing vocals came in, the dancer, everything, the colours, cracks of light across the dark screen, everything. I thought, the Netherlands have just done this beautifully, and I honestly don't mind saying that I was actually quite emotional by the end of it. I was like, that was beautiful. That's possibly one of the best stagings that I've seen so far today. And yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see a home nation do very well at Eurovision for a change, because the host nations the last couple of years have sort of floundered around the bottom of the scoreboard, but I don't see that happening with Birth of a New Age. I think there's just too much in there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it looked amazing on the stage. I feel like this is like Suriname in 3 minutes. Here you go. And it's made me want to go, how do you fly to Suriname? Do you have to fly through Amsterdam? Let me just check that out. I feel like I really want to go there. And I love the fact that they've brought, that they've got an artist that is from one of their ex-colonies, a word that we hate but exists. I love that. I mean, I love Monte la Vie from France back in 92, and that's from French Creole culture. I love when that happens. I really want the UK to bring some Indians and Bangla pop. I've been asking them to do that for the best part of 30 years. They've still not listened to me. But I love when the country celebrates its much wider culture than just a kind of very narrow view of who they are. So that just ticks all my Eurovision boxes. This is why I watch the contest. So my prediction is that the Netherlands are going to end up in the top 10. What do you think?
Top 10, I could see them possibly getting as high as 6th or 5th. I think there's so much there. It's the kind of song, okay, it might not get 12, 12, 12, 12, but I can see it picking up 4 here, 6 here, 5 there. So it's the kind of song that I can imagine every country will chuck a few points towards it. And just to echo what you said, yeah, it's lovely to see a country sort of not embrace the stereotypical side of what Europe expects them to be. It's, we are a modern country with modern people, with a wider representation of people. And yeah, it's just everything about it's fantastic. And I think it's come along sort of at the perfect moment in history.
I absolutely agree. Right, 3 more to go. France are up next. Barbara. I can't speak French. I mean, I could barely speak French when I'm not utterly knackered and running on Eurovision press fumes. I don't know what to make of this. I love it. I think it's wonderful. I can understand why it's being kind of touted as the winner and why it's riding very high in the bookies. But I think we might be looking at a false positive here, if that makes sense, because there was quite a lot of that with Madame Monsieur, and then it all went a bit wrong. I mean, not very wrong, but my hunch with this is that it is just a bit too French to win. What do you reckon?
I can see it winning the jury vote, because, Barbara's amazing and there's such an intensity and atmosphere to her performance. So I can see the jury's responding to that very, very well because she's got the voice, she sells the song well. I don't see the televote responding to it, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's very, very French. Okay, it won a French national selection by a landslide.
Right.
But I think, once you sort of get beyond the Francophone countries, I mean, some people have tried to argue to me that, French music is popular in Eastern Europe and such, but I don't know. I think there are other things in it that maybe have a bit more impact for a televote audience. And I mean, if Patricia Cass can't storm the scoreboard, then no offense to Barbara, she's an amazing performer, but I sort of see this ending up around the same thing. Top 10, I'm sure, but I think a French win, I think it's not going to be this year.
No, I would put this lower part of the top 10, somewhere between
Definitely.
6 and 10.
I agree. I think that's very reasonable.
Right. We ought to talk about it because it's coming up next. We've got to talk about it. You know what you said earlier about, you should take off the last thing you put on? That was Coco Chanel who said that.
What's the last thing we put on? Huge trombones by any chance?
I think it might have been. So we're talking about the UK, about James Newman's song. So we're talking about Embers, which is a fabulous little bop with lots of farty trumpets. It's great. I take that quote entirely from Roy. But they've managed to do what the UK are really, really good at, which is taking a great song and absolutely killing it any chance it ever had with really terrible staging. What are your thoughts, Mr. Scanlon?
A couple of countries are quite bad at that, aren't they?
Yes, there are.
Staging. My first thought looking at it, and this is after sort of nearly 10 hours in the press centre, I was thinking it really says something about where we're at with the Eurovision Song Contest when Azerbaijan, who are the masters of the mega prop, have sort of gone for a very simple staging. And someone at the BBC's gone, do you know what this performance needs? We need trumpets the size of a bus. And I mean, it's not the worst idea ever. It's James performs very confidently, which I think is a good thing. We did say we wanted to see trumpets and trombones on stage. I think they took that very, very literally, unfortunately.
Yeah, that wasn't what we meant.
No. I'm trying to look at it from the perspective that, okay, it's a memorable hook for the televote audience. They'll say, oh yeah, that one with the trumpets, and there's a big visual cue for them. I don't think it's the worst staging we've ever seen from the UK.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's funny, the British fans in particular, whatever gets staged, there's always something wrong with it, and they tend to be quite vocal about that. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's, the best song in the entire contest in the sense that, I think there are stronger entries, but I also think there are entries that are much weaker as well.
So do I, but we know how Eurovision maths work. And how Eurovision maths work is that those songs that are not the worst, not the best, that's all right. That is your classic 21 to 26 place. Because things that are deemed worst or best or have people saying that's really awful or that's really good, though they end up higher up the scale. That's what the UK have done for the last years. We've sent that's all right, and no one votes for that's all right.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems for the UK is we're very good at sending sort of light fluff that it's enjoyable to listen to, but then when you look at countries like Ukraine, Serbia, Albania, countries that sort of send very deep melodic, there's a real art and drama to it, and they sing with conviction. And I think that's one thing that it's very difficult to sing with conviction to a UK Eurovision entry because they tend to be sort of quite light and throwaway.
Yeah.
And I enjoy Embers. It's a good dance track and, it'll get people up and moving. But I think there's also that worry that it could be everyone's 11th favourite.
Yes, exactly that. An 11th favourite doesn't end up in 11th. 11th favourite ends up in 25th.
Yep.
That's Eurovision maths. It doesn't work anywhere else other than here. I think without that ridiculous staging, which is clearly the work of the BBC and not the MG, I think without that staging, this song stood a chance, I think, of ending in sort of maybe 14th to 18th position. I think with that ridiculous staging that is as subtle as a brick through a window, I can't see this getting out of the 20s. I can't. It's just so beige and so unimaginative.
I'm sorry, I'm still giggling at subtlety and giant trumpet in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the UK in the last couple of years have sort of entered in that sort of 16 to 20th slot, and yeah, I think anything above that would be nothing short of a minor miracle, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We did well with Lucy Jones. Came in, was it 17th we ended up with Lucy?
I believe so.
Because by some miracle, they found somebody who actually knew how to stage a thing. I don't know how that happened. clearly a fluke. So the last rehearsal of the day was Spain. So that concludes our rehearsal rundown. So Spain were there, apparently.
Spain were there as well, and they had a huge moon. Just when you think you've seen everything at the Eurovision Song Contest, someone brings in a satellite, an actual planetary satellite.
I mean, it's actually the size of the moon as well. It's massive.
It is, and my immediate thought watching it was, it starts out, it's very dark, very moody, and I thought, well, okay, it's a song about his dead grandmother, so it's going to be quite dark and moody. And then there's this whacking great moon, and I was trying to work out if it's an actual prop or if it's CGI, because some moments I sort of think, no, it's most likely CGI. And then I think, well, is that a cable I can see holding it to the stage? When was the last time I slept? I don't remember. By this point in the day, we'd seen a lot. I get what people are saying, that, it's about the death of his grandmother and maybe sort of, the stars and the moon. It's that sort of thing of longing, of missing someone, brightest star in the sky and everything. I just don't think that this staging suits the message of the song particularly well.
No, it's put Blas in the same, vying for the same votes as Italy, Austria, Switzerland, Estonia if they get through, Vasil from North Macedonia. It's just another one and a weaker one of all of those.
I think that's one thing Spain have struggled with a lot. They send songs that their own fans get behind so much, and such a big thing gets made about them online because so many people like it and enjoy it. And then when it gets to the Eurovision stage, it's one of so many that it's sort of difficult to pull ahead from that group.
Yeah, it's a shame. Spain were going to be working with Nicolene Refsing from Rock Art, and this year they didn't go with her. I think there's Marvin Diekman, isn't it?
I think they might come to regret that decision.
I think they might come to regret that decision because, Marvin Diekman has a very distinctive style which works for certain songs and not for others. A bit like Sasha Jean-Baptiste. She has a very distinctive style for staging things, and yet when you give her Jessica Malboy, her staging just doesn't work on something like that. And I feel like Marvin Diekman is really similar. Not that he's bad at his doing it, because look at what he's done with Austria. My goodness, it's cracking. It just doesn't work with this. I feel like they should have stuck with Nicolene, but a bit late for that now. So where do you think Spain are going to finish?
It's a real shame because I think Blas is a very talented singer, and with a song that's that intensely personal and emotional, obviously you want him to do well. But like I said, with the UK, Spain sort of usually are found between, say, sort of 20 and under. And again, unless he really pulls it out the bag with the vocals, or, enough is made of his backstory so that, there's a big kick in the sympathy vote. Yeah, I don't see this doing as well as it could do. This
relies very heavily on the commentators.
Exactly.
And songs that rely on the commentators end usually in 24th to 26th. I could see this losing. I could see this being number 26 because I just cannot see who is going to vote for it, why they would vote for it, who its audience is, what it's trying to tell me. I don't know why it's there. And I hate saying that because, like you say, Blas is a really talented guy, but I don't know what this song is. I don't know why it's here.
No, that's it. And I think for a song that's, it's essentially sort of a eulogy and song about grief, and it's sort of been staged in an almost romantic ballad kind of way.
Yeah.
And I think if they'd gone something more for the music video, do you remember Lithuania in Lisbon where they sort of had, the ghostly images?
Yeah.
And that is the moment you need that. That would have, then we'd be sort of saying, Spain are going to be in the top 10, probably get their best score ever. At the moment, I'm really sorry, Spain. I don't see it happening.
No, absolutely. It's really got nothing, and I really hate that that's the case because, like you said, Blas is super talented, really, really lovely guy. But there we go.
Well,
as they sung in 2016, that's Eurovision.
Indeed it is. It's a terrible thing when you have to rank them all. Keep trying to explain this to fans. If you have to rank every single song, then some songs that deserve to do better are going to be pushed further down the scoreboard than we would like them to be. But at the end of the day, that's how the game's played. That's how the TV show's made.
I know. I'd hate to be a juror. I don't think I could do it. I mean, I'd love to do it because, hey, I'd love to do it. But I'd hate to do it as well because I don't think I'd be able to. I prefer doing it for national selections. When people ask me about, give my opinion on national finals and stuff, I enjoy that. But I don't think I could do it for the contest. I really don't.
Too much pressure.
I know, too much pressure. James, thank you so much for joining me for this rehearsal rundown. Where can people find? They can find you at Eurovision Ireland, but they can also find you at Europe in a Day. Just tell people very quickly what that is.
Yep, so if you're interested in travel and you like to move around Europe, but you maybe don't have the funds to do that, then day tripping around Europe is a great way to see a lot of countries with very little money and in a short space of time. So I'm always writing stuff on europeinaday.wordpress.net. And yeah, have a look. I do a lot of stuff on foreign languages as well. So if you fancy learning a bit of Northern Sami, Luxembourgish or Manx, come and check us out.
And people can buy your book on Amazon, right?
Yes, indeed. Europe in a
Kindle
Day
version.
is available on Amazon Kindle. And if you like it, please leave a short review. It's always greatly appreciated.
Great. Thank you, James, so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will be back with the next show. And you'll be able to listen to everything that's going on right here. Well, not here, right there at Eurovision.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Representing the United Kingdom.
Sometimes I know my fire burns low, but as long as you're with me, I'll never get cold. Day and night, through darkness and light, I never worry when you're by my side. All feelings change and seasons fade, but nothing will burn us out. Nothing can stop us now. Out of the embers, you and I are gonna light up the room. Out of the embers, there's a fire burning for you. I feel it heating, there's still a chance for us. Down here in the ashes, yeah, there's something glowing. Out of the embers, you and I gonna light up the room. Light up the room. Out of the embers, you and I gonna light up the room. Out of the embers, you and I gonna light up the room.